when I first walked across hot coals, which was 19 years ago, with a guy who had trained with Tony Robbins and wanted to bring this over to the UK, I found myself, even though I'd learned some NLP techniques back then and I'd learned some things about empowerment, I still found myself stood in front of those coals, feeling the heat coming from them and thinking, that is a proper bonfire, that is proper heat, that is really, really hot. But then, suddenly, once I was able to fire the anchor, get myself into a resourceful state, and then walk, and then look at what I'd done over a sort of 20-foot fire walk, it just made me realise that actually, you know, it's a fear like any other fear. And if you understand these little tips and techniques and ways in which you can get yourself into that state, then actually, yes, you can walk on fire. But also, what it taught me was all the other things that we have where we're in one state, where we'd like to be in another in certain situations, then there are ways in which you could do that. And that really was the key for me. It wasn't just about the walking on fire, it was learning those other things as well. More and more people have seen that how phenomenal it can be to take people from one state of disempowerment to a state of empowerment. And there's a lot of people out there who want to help communities and individuals be able to do that. So there's been this growing trend of people from the UK to travel over to the USA to learn these techniques and these ways of working and utilising these metaphors. And I just thought, do you know what, we should be doing it over here in the UK. So I decided to do that 3 years ago. I got the training under my belt and now I've brought it over to the UK. Well, each particular empowerment routine or empowerment metaphor has got a slightly different take. So for example, walking over glass is very different from walking over the fire. With walking over the fire, it's really a question of you feel that fire, you can feel the heat before you get into it, but actually going from the start of the fire walk to the end is relatively easy. Obviously people are fearful, but what you need to do is go through a process where you get yourself into a resourceful state, you take one step followed by another, and then you're at the end. And you want to get over there relatively sharpish. You don't want to take your time walking across hot coals. There's a way of doing that. And what that teaches you is that you can get yourself into a resourceful state. Now with the glass walk, it's really very different, because with the glass walk, what people are learning is they're learning to actually quieten down the internal voice, quieten down that internal monologue where they're saying things to themselves that are unempowering. Because with the glass walk, what you're really doing is you're really paying attention to your feet. And you're not doing it quickly. You're taking each step purposefully and methodically. If you don't like where your foot has landed, then you choose another spot. You don't run through the glass walk. You don't walk quickly through the glass walk. You do it slowly, and you learn to focus. You know, most people go through lives just basically, you know, wanting to get a raise, but never actually approaching their boss and giving them the reasons why to do it. They don't go for other jobs because they don't like going through the interview process. You know, these things are all relevant in their lives, but they never get the opportunity to actually practice at being confident. If you think about it, when do you actually practice being confident? When do you practice being focused? When do you practice being determined? When do you practice following through? You don't. You go through life and you're given opportunities to be confident and you're given opportunities to be focused, but most people, because they haven't and don't know the way in which they get focused or get confident, then they just muddle through. And often that's not a good experience. So what we do through the Firewalk Instructor training is we take these little segments of people's lives where they can take them out into real life, and we teach them that they can take control of their mind, body and spirit, and that they can actually learn how to control them in a way that's useful in their lives. So whether it's a glass walk, whether it's a board break, whether it's a brick break, or any of the other experiences that we take people through, at the end of it, they become aware and they're able to control their minds and bodies in ways that they weren't able to do them before. But really, if they've got an open mind. That is the most important thing. They need to have an open mind, but more importantly, they need to understand things like the law of attraction. They need to understand some things about the unconscious, because if people come on with very fixed ideas, then when you're dealing with things like fire, fire is a natural event. It's a natural phenomenon, and it has a life and a spirit of its own. You know, at certain points of the fire, they can be 650 degrees. At other parts of the fire, they can be 1200, 1300 degrees. And so, if people are coming along very blasé about the whole event, they can have a very different experience than people who take it seriously and go through it with an open mind and listen to the wisdom of the thousands of people that have been through this program. There's several reasons why apparently it's impossible to burn. If you look at the scientists, you know, they'll say that the conductivity effect is the reason why people can't burn their feet, is because that coals are a poor conductor of heat, and that because the feet are only touching the coals for a very small period of time, that there isn't that transference of heat, that the coal cannot actually transfer the heat through the skin quickly enough. The other thing is the Leidenfrost effect, which is the same reason why if you drop some water on a hot plate, that it sizzles and it spits and it makes lots of activity, but it takes forever to evaporate, so that when the foot touches the coal, there's superheated steam that's created, which protects the footbed from burning. So this is why the scientists say that, you know, why nobody burns when they're firewalking. But the fact is that sometimes people do get blisters. Sometimes people do get the odd fire kiss, and every now and again, where people haven't been trained properly in how to hold a correct firewalking seminar, sometimes there have been people who have been hurt quite badly. And so it's not that people don't get blisters, don't get burns every now and again. People do. But if you follow these principles of the heart and the mind, then what we have found is that consistently there is a very, very small blister rate, and they tend to be little blisters that by the next morning are gone. Whereas, you know, if people go and do firewalks with people who haven't been trained, with people who haven't gone through the firewalk instructor program, then we have found that those people often have higher rates of problems occurring. But here's the thing. People often say if you can walk on fire, you can do anything. Here's the truth. If you can walk on fire, you can walk on fire. That's it. That's really it. But if you go on a seminar where somebody has been trained by the Firewalking Institute, if you've been on a seminar where somebody like myself has got high levels of training with NLP, what we'll do is we'll put you through a 4 or 5 hour program where it's not about fear into action or fear into power. It's actually about X into Y. It's actually about where do you want to be and where do you find yourself. How can you get from where you find yourself to where you want to be? Now, if there's anybody out there that's thinking, hey, you know, there's been times when I've been in the middle of an argument and I've thought, this is ridiculous, I'm just arguing for the sake of it, I really need to be feeling compassion right now, or I need to just be quiet, but you can't get into that. What we teach you is ways in which you can actually go from X to Y. So where in the middle of that, you can actually switch and you can feel yourself feeling compassion. So people should come on it who find themselves in situations where, you know, they're not happy about certain scenarios. Because if they go through the firewalk, we'll teach you, yes, we'll teach you about how to go from fear into action, but also what people will take away is how to go from disempowered states into empowered states. You'll learn a bit about NLP, but you'll learn a lot about yourself, and you'll actually take with you away life skills which you can use every day of your life.